Syndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
What is up? Monday night, we're inching ever closer to real football. He's Shep. I'm Sean. There's a reason why I started the show like that, Shep, because we have to remind ourselves while the exhibition season doesn't mean a damn thing, the football is real, and so is the possibility of scary moments. And we saw one on Friday night, man. It just, I don't care what anybody says. It sends a shiver down your spine when you see things like that, Shep.
You know, as soon as that happens, you and I are fortunate. We know a lot of NFL players, a lot of guys who've played, beyond what the average player plays, which is 3.5 years, right? So you get to a point where you're playing 8, 9, 10 years. Those guys recognize how fortunate they are, not just to be part of that type of fraternity for that long, but also to come out and still have their wits about them, And we've seen guys like Earl Campbell relegated to a wheelchair. We've heard about the nightmares that some guys have had, and they've tragically left this earth too soon. That really shakes you up, man. So when you see everybody come together like that, and kudos to both Dan Campbell, the entire Atlanta Falcons organization, for saying, you know what, let's move on. It's not worth it. It was going to be really hard for those guys to engage and continue to play as hard as you'd like them to play after seeing something like that.
No, 100%. You know what? And it was Todd and I were talking about it because Friday night was one of those nights, Shep, where you were kind of flipping around and everything. I mean, in the joys and fears of sports, right? The highs and the lows. At about the exact same time that stuff was happening to Maurice Norris, you literally had Matt Vierling hit one of the most improbable home runs we've seen in a long time, Shep. It really is unbelievable.
Yeah, the 3-run blast in his first of the year, and then he goes on the 10-day IL. I mean, who would have thought that? I don't know if they've turned the corner, Sean, with that weekend series win over the Angels. You could make the argument they should have lost 2 out of 3.
Yep.
But they escape and win 2 out of 3, and they get Chicago, and they're up on Chicago early on, thanks to Dylan Dingler. And then they go to Minnesota. Now, granted, we have seen what Minnesota has done to them already, and we know what Chicago has done in the past. Chicago just beat Cleveland yesterday. So it's, but those are series you should win, right? You expect to win those types of series, and maybe that brings the swagger back. Because I think you and I have both said out loud, they're walking around differently.
Yep.
Sometimes it's an expectation. You know this. We've been around these guys, and when you see players winning like they do and believing in one another, there's an aura about them. They lost that for a period of time, and maybe this will help them get it back. What do you think?
Yeah, Shep, I do. And do you know what? I think this weekend was a subtle reminder of the work ahead of the Cleveland Guardians as well, because they cut it to 5, okay? And this is a situation where they had been on this streak. And in order to gain on the Tigers, okay, here comes Captain Obvious. You ready? They have to keep winning series and hope that the Tigers don't win series. Because at the end of the day, the Tigers win a series, chances are Cleveland's not going to gain any ground, and I mean, as we're moving to August, I mean, there are some people who have already declared, Cleveland will catch them by mid-September. Cleveland's going to catch them. But to me, Shep, this weekend was kind of the subtle reminder of, yeah, this baseball team is flawed. There's no mistake about that. I think we all knew that to begin with, but the cachet that they gave themselves in building that big lead, hey, props to Cleveland for chipping into that. But at the same time, there's a lot of work ahead of them and a small amount of time to keep chipping those 1 games away from that lead.
Well, that's why I don't think either one of us got too far ahead of ourselves when people were comparing this team to the 1984 Tigers, the 2006 Tigers, and the other teams that went to the World Series. It's just not smart. I mean, they're not nearly as talented as the last championship in this town, and anybody who thought they were, because they've surprised you, didn't watch the talent they had on 1984. Okay. Yes, I do agree with you, but look, if you're Cleveland, you're winning series. They win it differently. You're winning series, and they probably are looking at it too. Like, look, Detroit's shown plenty of vulnerability. I would just remind everybody, just about every team has.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at the slide the Yankees are in right now. Look at the slide the Mets are in. You know, when we talk about spending money, Sean, look at the amount of money that Steve Cohen and the Mets have spent. And they have lost 11 of their last 10 games. And their stars, their superstars, Francisco Lindor and others, are sliding miserably. It doesn't do a damn bit of good to spend money unless you're spending it wisely. Now, I think they have the possibility of pulling out of it. I'm not saying they're not going to make the playoffs at all. You look at the National League with the Dodgers and the Padres and the Mets and the Phillies, of course, but no one, we said this last week, no one's talking about the Brewers. All they do is win. They've got 73 wins, right? They've won 9 in a row. Seattle's won 7 in a row. I think what Tiger fans are feeling right now is similar to what you and I are feeling. There's other teams, while Detroit was up here, other teams are starting to climb and then surpass them. And that might bother some Tigers fans a little bit, even though we still have a long way to go.
2 of my favorite Honest Media members, Sean and Matt, thank you very much. So is Rakestraw done? He's done for the season. He's been a myth so far. I mean, he's been one of those guys, Shep. There's no other way to say it. I mean, I think history is strewn with guys. Wait till you see this guy. Wait till you see that guy. And it's unfortunate, but the old adage, the best ability is availability. And if you can't stay healthy, you know what? You're going to have wiseacres like me call you a myth. And it's too bad, because I know a lot of people thought, well, this is a good opportunity for him to step up and step into a prominent role. But Shep, you heard Dan Skipper talking about it. It is just amazing. Now, it's not to the levels it was last year, but Dan Skipper was talking about it today. Like, is there a voodoo doll and somebody's putting pins into the Lions voodoo doll? Because I mean, the injuries just keep coming.
Yeah, 6 guys already on the PUP list or on the IL. Let me ask you this, and you and I both, in Brad Holmes we trust, right? He's done a phenomenal job. This is not a knock on him. But if Rakestraw ends up as that guy, as a second-round pick, and Hendon Hooker, who looks as bad as a backup fighting for a job could possibly look, that's a third-round choice. Those are 2 pretty big knocks on his drafting resume. You're not going to get them all right. I get it.
Right.
Those are pretty big knocks, because those are 2 guys that you were counting on from a depth standpoint and using high picks for them.
I don't mind the idea of Hendon Hooker. I liked the pick when it was made. I did. I liked the pick.
You're honest. At least you're honest. Right?
And it's just not happening. And it's. I want to give credit to where credit is due. I saw Jeff Risdon said something along the lines of, if you're talking about athleticism, there's no comparison. If you're talking about picking up this offense and making things happen within this offense, there's a clear guy. Shep, I'm going to say it again. I think the writing was on the wall. I think when you
last year,
when you make the decision in November to pluck a high school football coach off the sideline and say, oh, no, it's nothing personal. We just want a guy with experience. That was the first red flag that went up. And then when you went and signed Kyle Allen, I think that was another red flag that went up. And I don't mean this disrespectfully, but Shep, it got so bad that Dan Campbell pulled him in the second quarter of an exhibition game. Like, if you don't see the writing on the wall by now, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't.
So there's a couple of questions here. First, I don't know Jeff Risdon. The athleticism part, I mean, okay, how athletic was Tom Brady? How athletic was Peyton Manning? I want guys who can throw the football, read defenses, and throw accurate passes. Okay? The whole, the athlete in you, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Kyler Murray was a really good athlete because he was drafted in the first round in baseball. How good has Kyler Murray been? He's overrated, dude.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, no question.
Stop at if it was down to that athleticism, Hendon Hooker would be your starting quarter. Come on, give me a break. Okay. So he's more athletic than Jared Goff. Whip-de-doo. Okay. Like a lot of people couldn't figure that out. But what I do wonder is if the Lions have been sold enough on Kyle Allen to consider him a legitimate 2, and if they keep 3 quarterbacks and Hooker's one of them. You and I both know this. We remind folks this all the time. Every week, teams, not just the Lions, teams on a Tuesday are bringing in different players to watch them. And if they think they're going to make them a better football team, they're absolutely going to take a long look at them and sign them. All right. Is Hendon Hooker not just fighting for the number 2 job, but fighting for a roster spot on the line?
I think so. I really, truly do.
The latter.
Yeah, I think he's fighting.
Or you think they would take either 2 quarterbacks or these 2 quarterbacks, let him go and bring somebody else in?
I at this point, yeah, I really do. And it's funny because I think the flip side to that is, Shep, you hear people say, well, maybe we can trade him. And let's play a game of pretend. I'm an opposing general manager, and I love Hendon Hooker. I love him. I love him to death. And I'm laughing at the Lions right now saying, you know what? He is a system quarterback, so why don't you put him in the shotgun constantly and put him in positions that are favorable to what he did with Heupel and everything? Why on earth would I tell Brad Holmes that? Brad, baby, I know you're trying to get rid of him and see if you can get something. I love, Todd, when you do the dumb AI stuff. I love it so much. Like I would, like, Shep, I'm not joking. I would say, I know you're trying to get rid of him. I'll give you a 7th rounder, Brad. What do you want me to do? You lie through your teeth at that point in time, Shep. So anybody that thinks you're going to get something for Hendon Hooker, I mean, my jaw would drop if that was the case.
Sean, I actually took a phone call last year while the season was going on, and somebody said, why don't they just trade Hendon Hooker for a 1st-round pick since he's not going to play because Jared Goff signed the contract? And I said, first of all, he was a 3rd-round draft choice. Second of all, you realize what some of these other quarterbacks are going for who actually have an NFL resume. Third, how do you as a general manager stand in front of the media and your fan base and say, we picked up a guy that they were going to cut anyway, and we gave him this type of capital? I don't care what round pick.
Right.
It makes no sense. What you could do is you could say, hey, Sean, you're my buddy. I got to save some face here. Can you give me a 7th rounder? Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay, maybe you could do that. And then, by the way, I'll catch up with you down the road. Wink, wink. Okay, that's a possibility. I think guys do that. They have good relationships. 7th rounder. You're not doing anything above that, would you? What do you hope for in a 7th round?
Hell no.
A kicker, a punter, a special teams contributor, somebody who's going to be fighting to make your – Dan Jackson was a 7th-round pick. Pretty good safety out of Georgia, but probably would make this team as a special teams guy, a gunner, maybe an inside protector on the punt team, and depth guy primarily. He'd be lucky if he dressed oftentimes if you didn't have a really good camp. So you might be able to get something like that.
Wasn't Luke Staley a 7th-round pick? Remember, he was the greatest 7th-round pick in the history of the NFL. The way people were talking that guy up. Do you remember that out of BYU?
I do. I can't remember if it was 7th or 6th, but I do remember that. Yeah. Look.
Todd, fact check us.
I remember what we were talking about. He had great feet.
Yeah.
I was calling along those Lions preseason games. He had great feet. Look how he hits the hole. Look at how strong he can be. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
All right. Hey, if you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville, owned by those 2 guys right there, the Hanson brothers. That's Mike Husak on the left, Jeff Husak on the right. They have 20 years of industry experience, and they understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. Look, what works for Shep, what works for me, it isn't going to work for you. It might not work for them. And what works for you isn't going to work for me. That's why these guys give you personalized service. They work with clients throughout all stages of life. They have clients in over 20 different states. The investment world is a complex one. And if you are ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it's time to work with these guys. Reach out to my friends. I'm also a client at the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574, or check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. All right, Todd went in the private chat. 22nd, a 7th round, 214th overall. Wow. He was the greatest 7th round pick ever. The way that people were carrying on, Shep, it was gross, right?
Yeah. How many calls did we used to take back in the day about backup quarterbacks for the Lions?
Right.
And
totally.
How many times were you and I as kids? You didn't have to play for the Dearborn Lions. You could have played for anybody, but you wanted somebody other than Gary Danielson. You wanted somebody other than Eric Hipple. You wanted somebody other than Joey Harrington and Mike McMahon and Andre Ware and all these different quarterbacks. And now if you think about it, the last, Stafford was here for an extended period of time, and now Goff. We've had 2 back-to-back top 10 quarterbacks in this town.
Yep.
In the league. That's pretty impressive, right? Don't have as much to show for it as you'd like, but pretty impressive considering all the misery we've had at that position prior to them.
Speaking of misery, Tom said, "Good evening, guys, from hot as hell London. I'm done with it, Shep. Willis Carrier is my hero, the man who invented air conditioning. This summer, I have appreciated Willis Carrier more than you could ever know.
Especially this past weekend. It was brutal.
Misery. Tigers built some major equity for once early in the season. It's paying off now. I agree with that, Justin. 11 of their last 10 is rough. The 2025 Tigers didn't have Cabrera, Sheffield, a Fielder, Maglio. Can't make the club in the tub. I like that. I think it's kind of comical how fans thought we could have included Hooker as a main piece in a trade for Crosby last year. 40 Gumble, good call. Good call, dude.
I don't know who we have ever thought. First of all, I remember talking to people about Crosby, and I'd give up 4 first-round picks, is what people oftentimes said. Like, come on, man. I mean, you're just pulling numbers out of the air, okay? It's ridiculous. First, you have to figure out whether or not you can afford them. Second of all, you don't even know where those first-round picks are going to be. Third, have you looked at the projections of where certain players have been traded and what they've garnered in return?
Yeah.
It's not 4 first-round draft picks, but I found that rather comical too, yeah.
Did you see the Gruden at Georgia and said, "Raise your hand if you're a 5-star player," and people raise their hands, and he said, "How the bleep do you know?" That's good. That's good.
I didn't see that. Did you see it?
There's so many things. I was just talking to some of the guys at Woodward today. I'm backed up on the SEC. I got to see the SEC one, and I must watch the Jerry Jones one that's coming out. And I hope that Jerry Jones is immortal, because that man gives more intentional humor than any man I've ever known. It is just every time he opens his pie hole, it's like, what's he going to say this time? It is
among the most ridiculous, self-serving, camera-hungry owners in sports history. Like George Steinbrenner was bad, right? Mark Cuban was bad. This guy is almost at a different level. It's unbelievable. This guy. It's constant, Sean. And I talked to some people, they think what he's doing right now with Micah Parsons, they think it's on purpose. They really think, okay, he's getting all the attention. I said, I'm not one to believe that even bad press is good press. I think this is dangerous for his franchise. And I'm surprised if they don't see it. That it's not like Stephen Jones could say anything to him, but you can't treat players like this and expect others to come your way. You've got your 2 best players, Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb, have both asked to be traded. Now, maybe CeeDee Lamb is trying to expedite things over the weekend by getting in the referee's way and getting run over on the sideline. I just can't believe that people feel like this is the way you operate. Unbelievable.
That little I won't even call it a press conference. Well, let's just say the media gangbang where he started talking to the lady about in his time and where he comes from. We don't need no agents. A man's word and a handshake are all that they need. It's like, dude, are you being serious with this? Every agent in the National Football League, even the ones that are 6 feet in the ground, are laughing their ass off. Are you kidding me? That's not how it works, Jerry.
Right. Even players too. I mean, there's been players who've gone in and they said, look, I can't do this without my agent. My
Right.
agent has been the guy who got me my first contract and so on and so forth. And Jerry wants to cut them out almost.
Yeah.
And players just aren't going to do that, man. Because first of all, they don't have time to read through all the minutia and the various language. And second of all, that's not their job. They're not bright enough to do that stuff for the most part. Maybe Matt Burke was because of, his background in academia. But most of these guys are like, that's not my deal.
Yeah.
All I got to worry about is making sure I know the playbook and I get my job done.
Hey, did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called our friends at Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? That's right. Legacy Partners, one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs. They did it for me, and I'll tell you what, Alex continues to take care of our family. We had a question this weekend, called him, boom, he answered it. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right question to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you, and help save you some money. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Give Legacy a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Tell them that we sent you. Shep, what do you think about abolishing the preseason polls? What's your take on that?
I don't think there's any validity to them right now.
Zero.
And I've felt this way for decades. I get that websites need the space, and I get that everybody wants to feel like they're really important, and they can go back and say, see, before the season began, I chose this team. Oops, they lost to Boston College. My apologies. I didn't think that the air travel over in Europe would affect them that much, right? Because that's what happened to Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
I've never felt like you actually get a feel for a team until maybe week 3. That's when I would start it, but it's never going to change. It's just something writers do. And it's with the more and more websites we have, you've got to do it, but they do it in every single sport now. You know that. I mean, it gets monotonous.
Shep, honestly, I'm part of the problem because literally I feel it tingling in my nether region when I see the AP top 25 come out. I did this afternoon. What the heck? What happened down there? That
hasn't happened in a while.
But I didn't even have to take a pill this time. But I didn't even, Shep, honestly, it was one of those things where I'm not joking. At the same time, I sit back and I'm like, this is so stupid. And I felt that way for years. So I think both things can be true. I can as a fan, I can get excited to see things like this and, debate with some of my buddies. Who's the most overrated team? Oh, I think it's Miami. Oh, I think it's Illinois. And then, I think it's Michigan and all that stuff. I just wish they would put no weight in validity into it. If you're going to do something like that.
I do the same thing with weekly rankings when it comes to baseball.
Yeah.
And it comes to football.
Power rankings.
Yeah, the power rankings. Oh my gosh, the Tigers are down from 1 all the way down to 6. And let me tell you why. Here's a serious problem. Why did Charlie Morton give up so many home runs? ... Yeah. Great insight, right? It does give something to talk about. It does. It's the water cooler conversation, right? So you're going to see that with the Lions. You're going to see that with the college football, college basketball poll. We don't know. I mean, how many, especially in college football, where teams are changing drastically from year to year. I don't know how you can predict that stuff. Not to mention the fact some people feel like Penn State should be number 1. Instead, it's Texas, and Texas is an underdog, by the way, at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Texas, Ohio State, Penn State. Do you think even if Penn State did have the best talent, and they do have a lot of talent coming back from last year's team, that you believe in James Franklin? I don't know many people who do.
I think it's twofold. It's not only James Franklin, but doesn't it seem like they always have a quarterback that is overhyped? And it's been that way for Christian Hackenberg.
Yeah.
And it just seems like I think Drew Aller's a good quarterback. I think the people that put him on the pedestal I don't know why. And I've seen him play a bunch of times. Shep, I'm not saying he's bad. Okay. I'm not I'm not sitting here dogging him. I just think that people put him on a pedestal and, a Heisman hopeful and things like that. And it's just like, am I missing something? He's been okay, right?
I think he's, he's got the size. He's a pocket passer more than anything else now. He does have a little bit of decent quickness, I suppose, outside, but he's got the perfect size and the perfect arm that everybody loves. And let's face it, you and I both know, when you think of Penn State, you never really thought of quarterbacks that much, did you? I suppose way back in the day, Todd Blackledge was drafted over Dan Marino, which is kind of ridiculous. Maybe Kerry Collins, who had a decent arm, but this kid is I suppose a little bit different than most of the recent Penn State quarterbacks, I suppose. I think that has something to do with it. The Big Ten and the cachet that the Big Ten has, that has something to do with it. Penn State's schedule has something to do with it too.
Huge.
It really it bothers me that there are certain teams that they're not going to play. It bothers me. I don't like the Big Ten scheduling. I don't like it at all. I want to see Michigan State play Ohio State, and they're not going to do that. And I think it stinks. And I know what a lot of Spartan fans would say. They were going to get a kick our ass anyway. There's something important to me about those traditional Big Ten teams.
I agree with you.
And I don't think we have it right now.
No.
And it's kind of sad, to be honest with
you. And you know what? Yet that first weekend, there are so many damn good games. I'm sorry, Catholics and convicts on Saturday night. Like, that's just, how great is that? And I understand that, it's more ceremonial because, Miami's still trying to take the U is back, seems like an every year occurrence. And some people think they really are legitimate. But let me tell you about All About Catering LLC, full service caterer, graduations, weddings, bridal showers, maybe Catholics versus convicts, anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is Rick and the staff's number one goal. Don't sweat your next big event. Go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to check out all their menus, all their 5-star reviews. They've done things for me. They'll hook you up as well. 586-731-1398 to get your event started. All About Catering LLC.
Sean,
Shep, I am happy.
You and I were at I think the Michigan golf course today.
Yes, right? Beautiful up there.
Really beautiful and a really nice way to celebrate a worthy cause. We had a guy on today who said that the Lions are going to go 9-8 because I asked him 10.5 over or under. He said under. He said 9-8. My question to him was, what makes you say that? He said, Minnesota has better talent. So that's interesting. He said, Minnesota's got a better defense. Look at their players. I said, okay. Can you tell me who Minnesota's best defensive player is in your mind? I'm just wondering. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Couldn't name a player. And I said, so you what about their safeties? Detroit safeties are the best tandem in all of football. I said, DJ Reed's an upgrade at cornerback. Terrion Arnold could be better. Jack Campbell really improved his stock. If Aiden Hutchinson's healthy, he's a top 5 defensive end. And when Aleem McNeil comes back, he will be a top 10 defensive tackle once he gets his rhythm again. Who does Minnesota have to combat that? No answer. I think there's a part of some people where this is a long way to get to the Penn State thing is, okay, show me, because people have been telling me about you for a couple of years now, and it's not been working.
Right.
And I've had enough. So I'm moving on to somebody else until you prove me otherwise.
Right.
Is there a flare of that, do you think? Maybe not in this town, but nationally about the Lions in general?
I think so. I really do. But I will say this about that. Shep, honestly, one of my most mind-boggling things is the mouthy Viking fans out of nowhere. Did I miss something? The Lions have owned them for a few years, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously we know how the season ended last year. And I just, the mouthy and the trash talking and calling the Lions frauds. Yeah. And I'm a firm believer. This is something that really irked me last year. When the Lions got hammered by Washington, and make no mistake about it, they got hammered. All these Viking fans kind of came out of the woodwork and started taking their shots. And it's like, but timeout. You might want to sit this one out. You guys might want to sit this one out. And conversely, when Lion fans did that to Washington after Philadelphia, ragdolled them, and people were talking crap to Washington, I say, whoa, timeout. Just a week ago, they punked you on your own home field. Shh.
Yeah.
There comes
and made no doubt about it.
There comes a time to shut your mouth. There really does. There comes a time to shut your mouth. And I think, with the Lions, I don't want to say putting the cart in front of the horse because, Shep, honest to goodness, I really, truly believe this is a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I really do. I'm not just saying that. That's not the fan inside of me saying it or anything like that. And the stuff that you're hearing out of camp, in fairness, I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but man, do you have to now with all the people that are out there taking videos and everything and people talking up with Hutch and everything? I'm going to say it again. I think people forget how damn good this defense was up until the Dallas game. I challenge people to go fact check themselves and go look at how good this defense was pre-Hutch injury and even post-Hutch injury for a little bit there. And
100%. There's a few reasons for concern, and I understand it. All right. You're asking a rookie to come in and do something that Lee McNeil was really good at and experienced, and you worry that growing pain in the middle of that defensive line might take a little bit longer than you want it to. You still don't feel like, although we think Zadarius Smith is going to get signed by this team, that you'd have the necessary opposite defensive end, right? Offensively, can Taylor Decker keep doing it for another year? Can Graham Glasgow do it for another year?
Absolutely.
Is Tate Ratledge good enough to be penciled in as a starter from day one, play as many snaps as Kevin Zeitler, and be as good as he looked the other night in preseason game number 2 against really experienced, heavy-hitting, tough, hard-nosed, and tricky defensive tackles? That remains to be seen, right? And then, and I hate this, but it's just a fact, is the Goff-Johnson thing able to carry over into Goff-Morton thing? The connection the two guys had, really important. How quickly can they build that? I don't doubt that there's question marks. Neither do you. The thing is, to suggest that this team isn't good enough to make the playoffs or be taken seriously when they have as much talent as they have, I think is missing the point and ludicrous.
100. Shep, talent wins. I'm sorry. I'm a firm believer in it. I've seen it. I've watched coordinators. Hi, Mr. Lombardi, screw things up. Yeah. Talent wins. Firm believer.
You do have to have good coaching, but I think Detroit has good coaching.
Yeah. One more thing before we get out of here. Our friend Lindsay Broadwell, when it comes time to get yourself a house, you're selling, oftentimes both, you need to contact the right agent. Who do we recommend, Lindsay Broadwell? Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville, has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan now. Her team, they are experts in all facets of the business. So when it comes time to move, Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. You want to work with the experts. You want to work with Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Shep, I hope you had a great time with Braylon today. That man is the mayor of Ann Arbor. He kissed more babies and signed more shirts and posed for more pictures. But check out Shep and Braylon Edwards every afternoon, 2 to 4 on Woodward Sports. I'll see you at 8 o'clock in the morning.
You and man.
Bags under my eye. Yeah, that's why. Okay. But Shep, enjoy your evening. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Thanks, Todd.
See you guys. God bless you. Peace.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.
Don't say